I could just tell you this movie's really good, or I could tell you that throughout the entire last hour I had to pee so bad and just couldn't bring myself to get up and do it. What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Josh, and today we're talking about the new Martin Scorsese movie, Killers of the Flower Moon, which dropped last weekend. I missed it. Finally got a chance to check it out today. This is a 3.5 hour long epic crime drama, which Scorsese is very well known for. And this follows the Osage tribe of Native Americans in Oklahoma during the 1920s. There was a series of murders. This is a very famous historic case that I honestly knew very little about, so I was excited to check this out. I feel like I say that with every video, but I was genuinely really excited for this because it's such a prestigious filmmaker behind this. I mean, the guy has never really missed. And I really enjoy even some of his lesser talked about films like Cape Fear. That one's really underrated. At the center of this film is Leonardo DiCaprio as Ernest Burkhart, who is this war veteran who is coming home. He joins up with his uncle, who is played by Robert De Niro, and he comes to the realization that his uncle is very well loved amongst the Osage people. They consider him an ally and even just a really nice and generous person, and underneath that facade is a lot of really screwed up stuff. At the end of the day, this is a movie about a bunch of monstrous people doing very monstrous things. But what I really appreciate here is that Scorsese does a phenomenal job of making these characters feel human. And that doesn't mean that I feel bad for them, because I understand that they're still terrible people and they're doing terrible things, but they feel real, they feel authentic. And that in turn makes the story feel more authentic and true to real life. I don't know how accurate this is because, again, I know very little about the real life true story. But in terms of crafting a story that just immerses you in it and keeps you hooked in through the entire runtime, I would say Killers of the Flower Moon does a pretty damn good job. Without even talking about the directing and cinematography, I think there are a couple of Oscar-worthy performances in this, starting with DiCaprio, who is always fantastic, and De Niro. I mean, De Niro's never really bad either, but I've seen him phone in a couple of performances over the last couple of years, Amsterdam most notably. And I know that it's a pretty high bar to top, but I genuinely think this is one of his greatest performances, at least in the last couple of years. He is just insanely captivating in this, again, playing a human that does pretty terrible things. But he is humanized. He's not this cartoonish, evil bad guy that you would see in 90% of other films existing today. And there are a lot of other characters in this too, a ton actually. Lily Gladstone is another standout performance as the wife of Ernest, who is one of these Native Americans who unfortunately falls into their trap. And I also appreciate that this movie knows how to handle subtlety. It has a very low-key score that's really good, but it's subtle, and it doesn't come on in full blast. It lets each scene simmer in the tension. And there are a couple of scenes that just have a couple of characters in them just sitting in a room looking each other in the eye or talking to each other, and they're so good that when the scene ended, I was like, no, I want to see more of that. And the fact that this film is 3 hours and 26 minutes and was able to captivate me through that entire runtime is pretty impressive. Although I have to say, if I have a significant flaw with this movie, it's that it does sag a little bit in the middle, and maybe it reaches a sort of rock bottom in terms of tone that was a little bit dark and overly grim. It wasn't really bad per se, it just slowed the pacing down and felt kind of repetitive in terms of what they were trying to convey. Also, the way they did the epilogue was a little bit strange to me. Some people will probably really like it. I don't want to say what it is just in case people don't want to know. But I can't really think of a single other cinematic experience that I had this year that kept me so captivated for such a long runtime. And just, it's such a tightly written script. The performances are phenomenal. There is some graphic violence in certain scenes of the movie, but it doesn't overdo it. It does just enough to make you horrified about what's happening without lingering on it for too long. And I think this is just a really important story to tell. I mean, I never even knew that the Osage people were among the wealthiest in the country during the 1920s. They simply couldn't use their wealth because of various reservation laws. And ultimately, although it does have the staple crime drama feel that a lot of other Scorsese movies have, it's also kind of a tragedy in and of itself. So if you want a feel-good movie of the year, you probably won't really enjoy this too much, but if you just want a really captivating drama that'll keep you on the edge of your seat, it delivers 100%. I'm gonna give Killers of the Flower Moon 4.5 out of 5 stars. Big time recommend for this one. So those are my thoughts on the new Martin Scorsese movie. I really need to catch up on some of his other films. I still haven't seen The Irishman, and I gotta be honest, being able to sit in a theater and watch a long movie is actually more enticing to me than watching it at home, because I feel like I'd have to break it up into like 4 or 5 chunks to get through it all at home. but the immersive experience of sitting in a cinema and watching, as a lot of people will say, true cinema was very satisfying in this case. Side note, it is hailing outside right now. Unfortunately, it started right when I finished setting up my camera, so I decided to film anyways. My apologies if that affected the video's quality at all, but I'm going to wrap this up here, so do let me know in the comments, guys, what did you think of Killers of the Flower Moon? Is it one of Scorsese's best films? I don't think so, but again, he sets the bar really high, so this is still a really great time. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. See you later.